Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go now. Come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that's Rieko here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and today we're discussing Elden Ring, the video game by the From Software and George R. R. Martin, the hot collabo that everyone's been waiting for, that no one thought would actually come out because George R. R. Martin notoriously never finishes anything anymore. And joining me to discuss this game, as always, Pete Busby. Hello, Pete.
Hey, how's it going? This is my first Dark Souls-ish game ever, and it did not disappoint. It was all the game. This week's fun fact, again, an actually fun one. So, sea urchins will put shells and crabs and such, tiny little things on their, I can see, they don't really have heads, on their tops as a form of like camouflage and protection from both predators and UV rays. But that's not all. Some enterprising, I don't know, I wouldn't really call them researchers. Let's just say people with sea urchins decided to 3D print them tiny hats instead. And sea urchins will wear these tiny hats. So you can see them in top hats, sombreros, witches' hats, all kinds of cute little things.
That's so good.
Right?
That was the funnest fact I think we've ever gotten.
I know. I thought we'd all enjoy it.
I'm glad you started one of our least funnest podcasts.
Oh, come on.
I'm kidding. We'll see. With a very fun fact. You know, Elden Ring, a game about getting hats and putting them on your dumb head.
True.
In many cases. That other voice you hear is M. Palladino. Hello, M.
Hello. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about this game because usually I get like sort of immersed in the games that we play. This one I fucking drown in. So I'm going to be like, yeah, it's all right. Game good. I spent 175 hours playing it, but it's all right. So,
Pete, how long did you spend?
Many fewer hours.
Me too, but that's still it can still be a very large number.
That's true. I like the bare minimum to finish, I guess.
I was at like 50, and I didn't feel good.
Oh, you finished a lot more of it than I did, so I was less than that.
Okay, you were probably in the 20, 30 range then. I don't think you can beat it in less than 20 in your first go through if you're not using a wiki or something to know where everything is. Well, before we discuss Elden Ring, we've got our normal housekeeping. So a reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Thank you to our new patrons who have joined recently. We have at least one or two since the last time we recorded because of the long Elden Ring hiatus. And M, why would people join? Why do I know that people have become patrons? I think it's because of Discord, and because
the Discord is hopping.
Of the
what
is it though?
Is it the Off the Deep End is gonna do what is it? Not Eternal Sonata. Another 2-word
It's
thing.
Unlimited Saga, but I was just setting you up to say that we were about to go to the
usually
Discord.
The Discord report. Usually you lead me in differently.
That's true.
I was not expecting that we were going. Anyway, this week on the Discord report, did you know Elden Ring came out?
I did.
The Discord knows, because talk about it. It was very contentious in the Discord for quite some time here.
Tense. People
have opinions on it. Some of them you'll hear right now. Others you will not hear right now. Other things. Did you know Final Fantasy Stranger in Paradise came out?
No, but I did know Stranger of Paradise came out.
Fucking that subtitle is
Whatever.
silly.
It's so bad. It's so
Prepositions are
bad.
lame.
Gino, can you tell us a little bit about what this is?
Oh, well, it's a new Final Fantasy game retelling the story of Final Fantasy 1 through the eyes of Jack Garland, who appears to be some sort of angry man. It's the story of an angry man and his idiot friends as they run through this high fantasy universe wearing hoodies.
And they want to kill Chaos real bad.
They do, and I've seen a few different ways of describing this game. Em, what is your favorite way, sentence description of this game?
I found a few on my Twitter feed. Someone described it as a new Final Fantasy that feels like it was supposed to be released in 2012. A game for people who liked Final Fantasy 13 and Dirge of Cerberus. So all 6 of those people. It's Kingdom Hearts if every world was the Fast and the Furious. I didn't think Final Fantasy 1 needed a Wicked, but here we are. That pretty much sums up what I know of this game. What about you?
So I am trying to keep myself as far away from it as possible because I'm going to be streaming it for the Giant Bomb Community Endurance Run, which is running from April 8th to 10th. I am going to be playing through this game blind on Saturday and Sunday, so the 9th and the 10th, with a donation incentive going. The more money I raise, the more edgelordified I shall become. The $100 I will put on one of those sweet knuckle rings that goes over your knuckle all the way down. I went to a Hot Topic. I got a choker. I got a sweet button up with skulls and stuff on it. At a certain point, I will straighten my hair and add eyeshadow, and it keeps going up. I will trim my facial hair into edgier and edgier configurations. First the chin strap, then a goatee, then a soul patch. So the numbers are, at $100 I get a sweet knuckle ring, $200 I get a Hot Topic button up, $300 I shave my facial hair into a chin strap. All of this live on stream. $500 black jeans, $750 chain choker, $1,000 goatee, $1,250 straighten my hair, $1,500 heavy eyeliner, $1,750 shave facial hair into soul patch, and then $2,000 I will paint my nails. Black, the only color.
I support all these looks for you, Gino.
This is going to be good.
I was told that when I straighten my hair, I look like Pete Wentz.
Good looking dude. Good looking
You
dude.
will really look like Pete Wentz by the end of this.
Yep, except for the soul patch. He's clean shaven. I feel like the final form is actually clean shaven, and then I just go straight edge. Start yelling at people about how drinking's bad, but also MCR is great. All right, so that's coming for Stranger Paradise, and that's also the plug for the Community Endurance Run. Look forward to that. It's only 2 weeks out, so get hyped.
Oh man,
there's gonna be a lot of
here
cool
already.
Stuff. Almost. Other friends of the show, other co-hosts will be involved. ZP will be involved. Arbitrary Water will be involved. Jeff will be involved. We've got a lot of fun planned, so look forward to that. Let's see, was there anything else? It seems there's a lot of sumo talk going on the Discord as well.
Yeah,
Like the Japanese sport?
Yes.
Yep.
I never thought that the wrestling section of our Discord would have not just professional wrestling on it.
Yeah,
It's all
apparently
sumo.
people like sumo. I poked my head in there and I was like, oh, there's actual conversations going on in here. There's a lot of videos of sumo men doing sumo.
Just slamming their heads into each other.
Yeah,
violently.
pretty much. But I guess they're having fun.
Yeah, it believes there's a basho going on, so watch out for that.
Oh, what?
Basho, that's the term for a big sumo tournament.
Gotcha.
All right, so with that, I think it is time now for my obsession of the week. And this week, I watched Just Like Heaven. Are you familiar with this film?
No, what is it?
It's Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo, the Ruffles, in a rom-com. I believe it came out in 2003. The premise is this. Reese Witherspoon is a doctor who is very committed to her job. She doesn't have time to date or do anything else because she's a doctor. But what if she got into a fucking car accident and then her ghost haunted her old apartment where it haunts Mark Ruffalo? And then Mark Ruffalo falls in love with her ghost?
Are you up talking because you're equally as confused as the rest of us?
Yes?
It's the reverse of
The Spirit
that
of
other
Christmas.
one that you like.
It's a great Spirit of Christmas companion piece. I did not realize that at the time. I was like flipping through Netflix movies, and then I saw, the opening premise. I'm like, oh, Mark Ruffalo. I like that man. And then, oh, Reese Witherspoon. She's fine. And then she vanished through a floor or something, and I was like, what? Excuse me? So yeah, just like Heaven, if you want copious covers of pop songs sung by like various early 2000s / late 90s style acts, they've got you covered. If you wanted The Cure covered by assholes, they've got you. It's just a really on-the-nose movie, but, it's an hour and a half, which is how long movies should be. So check it out. It is a good time. It is a fun movie. Definitely, if you have listened to us about The Spirit of Christmas, it is a great companion piece. I also watched The Spirit of Christmas again. That movie's good. And also, quick shout out to Turning Red, if anyone hasn't seen it, the new Pixar movie. It's quite good.
Very good. I liked it.
I don't like that it's set in 2003, I think, and like that's supposed to be ye oldie times. I don't like that at all. But that's fine.
It's a totally different time
It
now,
is.
unfortunately.
Yep. They're all wearing chokers in that movie to let you know that it's the 2000s.
There's a Tamagotchi.
Yep. I looked at my Tamagotchis and said, what the hell? You're targeting me. I feel bullied.
I am attacked.
All right, so without further ado, let's discuss Elden Ring. Em, you did this to us. You explain why you did it.
I know that Gino doesn't like these games, and so I picked it.
Yeah, it's a good enough reason right there.
Elden Ring is the story of the Tarnished, which is what you are. That's just what they call you. You go to the lands between, where a big ring in the sky used to be, but it got broken, and then there were a bunch of demigods who were fighting over the pieces. And your job is to go through and kill all of them and remake the big ring in the sky. And there's some lore beyond that. It doesn't matter. That's all you're set out to do. There is also a maiden, and that's about it, actually.
Yep, there's always a creepy lady who helps you level up when you touch the demon inside of her. There's always a cryptic person who says you're gonna get killed a lot when you step out of the first tutorial area. There's always some bosses that are real assholes. It's a Souls game.
Yeah. It is the Souls game, if you ask anyone on the internet, at this point.
Right now.
Yep. It sold 12 million copies in 3 weeks, which is fucking unprecedented. Yeah. So that's Elden Ring. If you haven't heard of it by now, you obviously aren't on the internet.
Way to go if you haven't heard of it by now. Wow. You're living a well-balanced, well-adjusted life.
Yeah.
So just I'll say this because usually I don't say this before a show because it's kind of what the show is, but since this is a game that came out 3 weeks ago, we are going to spoil it. We are going to talk about the whole game. We are going to talk about our experiences with the game. We are going to talk about the lore as best we understand it. We are going to try to go as deep into this game as we can. So if you do not want to be spoiled or have anything overly explained to you, maybe skip this and come back in, I don't know, 200 hours or however long you want to play this game. But otherwise, we will go on. We will do our best to interpret the game and, explain its mechanics and where we think it fits culturally. But just wanted to give you the warning because this is probably one of the most recent turnarounds, one of the quickest turnarounds from a game coming out to us doing a show on it that we've ever done. So warning put out there. So why don't we start with kind of laying out our experiences. And this is, how many Souls games have you played, for context?
I played every Souls game to completion except for Sekiro, because I don't know where my copy went. So Dark Souls 1, 2, 3. Haven't played Demon Souls because that was before my time, but if you get any copies, send them my way. Bloodborne, and this one. And that's all of them.
All right. Pete, what is your level of experience? This is your first one, right?
Yeah, my first and only. I've never really been too attracted to games where the key selling point is it's stupid hard and everyone hates you if you're bad at it.
It's fair. That's a very fair stance. And for me, I played Demon Souls for like a few hours and then stopped playing because I thought it was mean-spirited. Then I played a little bit of Dark Souls 1, gave up on it. I beat Dark Souls 2 naked with a club, just to kind of say fuck you to the series. Then I stopped playing this series entirely. I didn't play Bloodborne. I didn't play Sekiro. I didn't play Dark Souls 3. So this is my first Souls game since Dark Souls 2. And how did we play? What kind of characters did we start out with? What character class did you pick?
So when I started, I picked the hero, I believe, which starts you out with an axe, which I did not keep for very long. I basically went full armor past, like, I think the first boss. And then, do you want the full rundown of where I ended up?
No, let's just start with where we started, and then we can kind of go through where we ended up.
So that's
Pete?
where I started off.
I went Vagabond. I figured I would want a shield and a lot of sort of tankishness as early as possible. And then I started, abandoning the shield and dual wielding. Not dual wielding.
Two-handing?
Double handing. Yeah, two-fisting. Whatever my thing was.
All right. I picked the Wretch, as I am wont to do in these games, which means I started naked with a club and no specialization. I never wore armor, and I went from a regular club to a large rusty anchor.
Just so we are clear, Gino's character, please, Gino, talk about what your character was.
Okay, my character's name was Genghis Schlong.
Yep.
He was green, very much so, had just the worst haircut, had white, like the most hair I could give him, and it was white and pink.
Yep.
With
very
just ugly proportions.
Very upsetting to look at. A lot of cutscenes like get really close to your body.
Yeah.
And if you are not wearing armor, you just see all of that body hair.
Gross.
It's very upsetting to watch on stream.
There were a lot of close-ups of Genghis Schlong's ass.
Yes.
Was he thick? Is he a thick boy?
No.
Very much not.
I made him rail thin, except for his forearms, which were very big.
Nice.
Well, you see, height is a disadvantage in this game because it moves your hitbox up.
True.
But yeah, I made him intentionally bad to look at. So
Mission successful.
Mission successful. So starting this game out, you're kind of dumped into a cave, and the cave gives you an option to go down a hole to a tutorial, or you can move forward. And I saw a lot of people apparently just didn't trust the guy who told you to go to the tutorial section, because these
I would
games fuck you over like that.
Yeah.
That's a thing they do.
I was like, let me imagine what's going to be the worst time. And I was like, yeah, that's probably what they're doing.
So did you go down the hole to the tutorial, Pete?
I did not. Yeah,
I
so
did.
I'd like watch it subsequently.
So this was your first time playing a Souls game, and the Souls game said go down here to learn something, and you said no, you're lying to me.
I was like, you think I'm a chump, don't you? Stupid ghost man in that chair.
Clearly, this is fucking with me. So I'm going to see. I playing on PS4, my download speed was not very fast, and you cannot open that first door until the game fully downloads.
Oh.
So I went through that tutorial section like 3 times, just getting souls.
Just
Not
being so
souls.
oriented.
Not souls, runes in this game. I'm gonna make that mistake multiple times.
Yeah,
Don't
because
call me
they're all
out
the
for
same
it.
mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
so
nothing wrong with that.
As a designer,
Yes.
would you say that it is good design that someone's first attempt to play this game, they thought that the tutorial was trying to kill them or was a lie?
Probably not a good thing. I mean, no one told you not to listen to the ghost man in the chair. You could have gone down that hole.
What if the hole was illuminated at the bottom to show you that you wouldn't die?
Yeah, one of the things about this game, fall distances. That's the thing we're gonna talk about.
For sure.
I don't know. I could see down that hole well enough to see that there was a bottom to it. We're also missing the very first part, which happens before this.
Oh, the cutscene where they show you all the demigods and...
Well, there's the cutscene before then where it has the epic narrator voice telling you about all the people you're going to meet along this journey and probably kill. And then it spawns you into a church, and then you run out of the church, and then there's a boss who pretty much instantly kills you. And that's what sends you into this hole. Or you kill that boss, and then you get thrown down that hole anyway. Because that's how these games work. But you could beat that boss, especially if you pick the samurai, which has a very good weapon and also a bow.
Yeah,
So
pretty kick-ass class, honestly.
Yeah, I wanted to start with that, but my roommate was like, you should do that one. Because you are a hero. And then I had an axe, and I'm like, I don't like the axe.
That's a shame. Yeah, so this game, all the Souls games start you off by dumping you in the world, giving you very little explanation. Like, there might be a cutscene that gives you some general setup, but then they throw you against a boss and have you get killed in 9 times out of 10. And let me tell you, going in at level 1 with a club, it's hard to beat that thing. For sure.
It's not nice.
No, not at all.
But then you get the tutorial, and everyone's like, okay, now it won't mess me up. And you go and do the tutorial, and it's fine. Right?
Pretty much. If you do the tutorial, I found the tutorial not so bad, but then you take an elevator up out of the hole, and then you run into open world. Like, they give you basically the bonfire equivalent in this game, which are spots of grace?
Yes.
Touches of grace?
Touch grace.
Lost graces?
Lost graces. Bonfires. It's exactly the same. It's the same thing as the old games, except in this one, the Lost Grace will give you a wisp of light kind of pointing you in the direction of your next story objective. So because this game is open world, you can kind of just go in any direction at any time after the game starts. The only way you know that you're in a bad place is if stuff kills you really quickly. But the game won't stop you from going in the wrong direction. So the only real guidance you get is characters telling you about places, and then the Lost Grace kind of pointing you in the general direction of objectives.
Yep.
And they also give you a map, and on that map you will also see like wisps from the Lost Grace pointing you in the correct direction. Em, do you want to explain how you get more map pieces? Because it starts out with just like a big gray map.
Yes. So in order to actually get your map, you need to go to there will be a pillar on the map that you can sort of find if you get close enough to it. You go to that pillar, and then there will be a map piece at the bottom. But some areas, such as Mount Gelmir, you don't know how to get to that pillar. You need to go a very roundabout way to actually obtain that map piece. And so I was like, let me just go directly straight towards it. That will not do very much. But the map starts very small, and you're like, okay, this seems manageable. And then you get your second map piece, and it kind of expands outward. And you're like, oh, it goes way to the right. And then you get another one, or you get teleported somewhere, and you're like, oh god, oh no, it's huge. There's so much of this map. It is ginormous.
And then you go down.
Yes, and then there's also an underground area that you can get to, which is a little bit smaller, but
not much.
It is still quite large. Yeah. There's a lot.
So to facilitate getting around, they give you a horse named Torrent at your, I think, third Lost Grace that you find. A lady shows up. She's like, hey, I noticed you can't level up. I'm a maiden, which in this universe means I can help you level up. And if you touch the demon inside of me, or no, it's let me lay my hands on you but a moment, I think is what she says, or hold your fingers for just a moment. She helps you level up, and then she's like, hey, here, have this horse as well. The horse lets you move faster. It's got a double jump too, so it's kind of your best way to platform. Because this is the first Souls game with a jump button, like a proper jump button.
Yay.
Innovation. Previous Souls games have had platforming sections, but they were almost exclusively run and then dodge roll places to kind of platform. So the horse allows you to move much faster. It will outrun almost all enemy types. It lets you platform a little bit, but I will say the horse is a little finicky for some of the things, the platforming they ask you to do with the horse.
One thing about the horse though that is nice is it's instant. Like it's not like Ipana where you have to like wait till she shows up, the lazy horse. This is just you ring the bell, bang, horse is under you.
Mm-hmm. And there are iframes to when the horse actually shows up, so that will protect you from if you're about to get hit by something.
Yeah, and
if you do it at the right time.
The horse does have health, so the lady who gives you the horse, what is her name? She is the
creepy ghost lady.
Elden.
It is not Melina. Melina's the boss. She is
Melina, yeah. She's the guide in the black robe.
Oh. Then who's the boss?
Another, like Melchior or something. They're all end names. Who knows?
Yeah, there's Melina. Oh, boy. I just want the demigod names. I don't want all of the bosses.
This almost made me nostalgic for the names in Kingdom Hearts. I was like, Axel, easy to remember.
Xemnas, Xerxes.
Yeah. The thing about Elden Ring is all of the major NPCs that you come across are going to have G, R, or M as their names, because George R. Martin's initials.
Except for the Dung Eater. Very
Yes.
memorable name.
Although maybe he has another name. That seems like more of a title.
Either way, it's very memorable.
Mhm.
Yeah, so Melina gives you this horse, and she does tell you the horse has HP. So for about 3 or 4 hours, I did not summon the horse because I did not want the horse to die, because I assumed that if the horse died, it would be gone forever or something, because that seems like the sort of thing that this game would do. Turns out that's not the case.
Does she? I'm sorry, I don't remember the conversation, but does she actually say HP? Because that would be amazing.
No, it was health or something. You can make healing items for the horse, but if you give me a horse, I'm going to try and keep it safe.
Yeah, the horse also heals when you use your Crimson Tier potions.
Oh, your flask, your Estus
Yeah.
flask.
Your Estus flask equivalent in this game. It will get a little bit back when you use your, like, if you take damage, it will probably also take damage because it's directly underneath you. So you can sort of drink a potion and get a little bit of health back, but it's still gonna like explode if it gets hit too many times, which is a bummer because it throws you off and then you're prone and you have to spend time to get back up. But and also if your horse dies, you have to spend one of your Crimson Tier flasks to revive it, basically.
Oh, it's okay. I never had a situation where the horse died, but I lived.
Yeah.
That never happened to me.
That's what happens when you run around without any armor on.
Yep.
You are just as squishy as your horse.
100%. And I mean, the horse it speeds you up quite a substantial amount. Once you start using it, there are areas you cannot access without the double jump that the horse gives you. There are also certain like jump points that the horse can jump real high off of. They're like geyser sort of deals. And you survive any fall damage. There's no fall damage when you use those. So they are used for kind of platforming puzzles here and there. And since I mentioned like healing the horse, another mechanic that this game added, because it's an open world game, is a crafting system. You can get different recipes for different craftable items, and you can find items to make that stuff just kind of out in the world, flowers and bones and stones and all sorts of stuff. And the recipes are strewn throughout the world. Some of them you'll pick up off of corpses. Some of them you'll buy from merchants. What did we think of the crafting system in general? Pete, did you interact with it? Did you find it useful?
Oh God, I had so much to worry about already that I didn't really engage with much. The only thing, and I don't even think this is really a crafting system, I went to the smithies a lot to upgrade my weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like building new stuff, nah, I didn't really bother with it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a bow, so I didn't need arrows,
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Basically, if you are going to be using like throwing items, or if you want like to imbue your weapon with magic or something like that, that's when you're going to be using the crafting system. I did not need to touch it except for when I needed like arrows. Like there were some puzzles where you needed to hit something far away, and so I needed some arrows for that. And that was the only time I actually interacted with the crafting system. But everything else you just hit with your sword.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not like you're crafting your armor or anything. It's just other little things, consumables.
Consumables, and many of the consumables that you can craft either are very, very moderately useful. Like there were a bunch of things that were stat boosts that are like temporary stat boosts, like temporary health up, temporary attack up, temporary stamina up, and sometimes you could use that before boss fights, but I found that they wore off so fast that they were not that important. And then the healing items, like there's some that would heal you but like have trade-offs, like they'd heal you but deal you poison or something. Some of them would heal poison or some of the other status effects, but a lot of the status effects in this game are either slow build and then once they fill up, they deal you a lump sum of damage, or they fill up and then slowly damage you over time. But the only times I was really ever inflicted with those was times when I was wandering around a poison swamp or in a deadly battle when I did not have time to mouse around and get a consumable item. So most of the things that you can craft seem so marginal that I didn't understand. The game seemed to imply by putting certain crafting items like at the end of difficult fights that I should care about crafting, but boy, I never found a single item that I felt like I needed.
No, you don't need it.
Yeah,
you could do the whole game without crafting anything. But I still pick up all the crafting materials.
Yeah, they glow.
They're glowing, and you gotta pick up everything.
I like to see numbers go up too.
True.
You know, whether or not they're useful.
Yep.
And this game, boy howdy, if you like seeing numbers go up, whether or not they're useful, this game has stuff for you.
So many numbers.
So, like Souls games other Souls games, every time you level, so we've got the rune system or the soul system where enemies will give you runes. You take those runes to a bonfire or a lost grace. You sit down, you talk to your maiden. She lets you spend a certain number of them to level up. A level will just give you basically 1 point to allocate into a number of different stats. And in this game, they've actually done you a solid. And in addition to having like the stats that you can increase with levels, there are some stats that just go up as your level cap goes up. So like your resistances to certain status effects will just go up. You don't need to put anything into like a specific resistance category to get those things. So what kind of builds did y'all go for with your levels?
Like I said, I was mostly tanking and swinging big swords. So I was strength, endurance, vigor were my sort of three big moves.
Yeah. I went with, I was also swinging big swords. I started out with a katana, so I was doing dexterity first, and then I went and I found a great sword, which is just a giant berserk sword.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using that for a while, and then my brother was like, you should try out the Bloodhound's Fang.
Yeah, that's a really good weapon.
A very good weapon, which you can get very early on in the game. It inflicts bleed, and it's got a really good like weapon art where you just like do a backstep and then you can zoom forward and hit them again. And so I used that until the end of the game. So I was dexterity. I got dexterity up to like 80, I think.
Yeah.
And strength.
Is there a max?
I think there is like a soft cap on most of the abilities.
It's just like exorbitantly expensive at that point.
Well, it's exorbitantly expensive, and there's tremendous diminishing returns on what it actually does for you beyond a certain cap.
Yeah, like I know the intelligence cap is like around 80 as well, and after that it goes up by like 1, and it's not worth investing in anymore. I tried to go into intelligence, but I respect, because you can do that at a certain point once you beat one of the bosses, because I was like, I'm going to try out casting spells. Then I was like, or I could just keep swinging the Bloodhound's Fang, and that'll do the job just as well. So I respec into intelligence, and then I was like, no, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing I've been doing. And then went back to just all dexterity. So.
Yeah. I put, because my character was naked running around with a rusty anchor, all of my points went into vigor, strength, and endurance. I think I had like 15 endurance, 50-something vigor, 50-something strength, and I think like 12 mind. I just needed enough mind to summon the specific like follower I wanted, which we can talk about that. There's a new system to kind of help you overcome bosses in this game, which are they're called ashes, right? Or the ashes, the weapon arts. Are they both ashes?
There's the
Spirits.
Spirit ashes, yeah.
Yeah, they're still ashes. Yeah, the spirit ashes, basically they're these key items you can pick up that allow you to summon in NPCs to fight with you. And it's not just like in previous Souls games where you can summon in another player, or sometimes you could summon in like named NPCs who would come fight with you. The spirit ashes are generally like friendly versions of enemies that you would fight who will team up with you. So like you can get a spirit ash that's like a gang of undead dudes who just roll up with you, or 3 wolves, or spirit jellyfish. And those characters will fight alongside you. They will draw aggro from bosses. There's a specific icon that needs to be on the screen. It's kind of like a gateway in order to summon ashes. So you're restricted to using this to only spots where the game says you can. But it's almost every boss fight. So that's super useful.
Yeah, it's like boss fights, and also if there's some spots where there's just a ton of enemies, they usually let you use those there too.
Yeah, so the spirit ashes consume some of your MP, but or most spirits.
Some
consume
of
your
them
MP.
take health.
Yep, some of them take health, and they are super potent and the game doesn't penalize you in any way for using them. So it's a little bit of a like utility tool. Honestly, I think that's the nicest thing that one of these games has done for the solo player, and I appreciated it. Pete, how did you find the spirit system? Did you use it? Did you have any spirits that jumped out?
No, I use it every single time they let me.
Yep.
I use the jellyfish a lot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. My concern with the spirits was mostly letting them draw attacks. Like, they did damage, great, but I just wanted sort of like a bullet sponge. And especially early on, the jellyfish is one of the best things for that. Especially because people would try to attack it, but it floats. So sometimes they would just attack under it, which is funny and fun.
And it shoots poison, so
it does.
It will occasionally poison dudes and then just deal them heavy damage over time because you can poison bosses in this game.
Mm-hmm. Poison is very effective against the first couple of bosses. I use the ancestral. What was its name? Let me find it. The ancestral follower, which is like a big bull man, kind of looks like Iron Bull from Dragon Age.
Yep.
But he has a bow, and so that was very effective just to set him up as like a turret for most bosses. And also as the bullet sponge, he had quite a bit of health. I don't think
really
as much
tanky.
as the jellyfish.
It was very tanky, has a melee move, has a ranged move, and all of the attacks do decent damage.
Yep. And I used that up until the moment I got the Mimic tier. Then I was like, now it's time for this.
Mm-hmm.
I did the exact same 3 things. I did the jellyfish, then the ancestral follower, then the mimic tier for whatever reason. I think it was just that like the jellyfish was one of the first ashes you get, and so it was a clear head and shoulders above the other ones I had gotten. The ancestral follower was a tough enemy for me to beat, and so when I got it, so getting that ash was like, I have a hard time beating this enemy, and I know that it's ranged and close up, so let's go with that. And then the mimic tier. Do you want to explain what the mimic tier does?
So the Mimic tier makes a copy of you, and just like sets that loose. It takes a little bit of your health. I mean, a little bit depends on how much health you have, but it's like 600 something health, and it makes a clone of you, which does all of your same moves. It has your main like equipment on. So if you are running around with an anchor, getting double the amount of anchor hits is very good.
Yes, it does a lot of stagger, turns out.
Yep. If you are, say, as I was, using the Bloodhound's Fang, inflicting bleed, very effective to have twice the bleed procs. Very helpful for certain bosses. It's good.
It also has all of your items in your inventory too.
Yes.
So if you've equipped anything into your like quick access inventory, like throwing weapons, your mimic will have as many throwing weapons as you do, and it does not deplete your inventory.
Yep.
So like if you have 30 kukiri, it's going to have 30 kukiri, and it's just going to throw that shit.
Yep. And it can heal. So
Yes.
that automatically makes it super tanky compared to anything else.
Yeah, it doesn't get as many heals as you have, but the fact that it can heal at all
Yeah.
is disgusting. So yeah, I think, Pete, did you get the mimic tier?
Yeah, I did. Not as like whimsical and fun as the jellyfish, but much more effective.
Yeah, it is exactly your murderer. And it plays into whatever you were doing already, generally speaking. Now, the AI is not as good as you are, generally speaking, but
Yeah, speak for yourself, Gino.
it is at least capable, and it draws a lot of aggro. So what do we think for like the spirits? Obviously, I think are a nice quality of life improvement over previous games. What did we think of the overall quality of life of in this game? Like, there's not, at least when we started playing, there weren't markers for NPCs. There's still no quest log. There's still no, like, here's what this person told you last time. There's still no waypoints of any kind other than ones you make yourself. You do have fast travel. They have added fast travel, which is nice. Though I think fast travel's been in these games before.
I think you could teleport to bonfires, other ones, but
now
only
you
from
can
other
do it
bonfires.
anywhere.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Gino, since you're leading us in there?
Well,
do you have something
for
in
me-
mind?
Oh, well, I think some of the things that they have chosen not to add as quality of life, like, say, for example, waypoints or markers on the map, like, question marks on the map to kind of let you know where things are, I think that's probably fine because the map itself is actually quite descriptive on its own. Like, you can learn what certain icons on the map mean. Like you said earlier, the posts that show you where to get map pieces. Like, once you learn that in the gray areas, they'll show you roads and they'll show you those, where the map pieces are. You now know quite a deal about how to fill out the map. Or, you can realize that there's kind of orange splotches on the map in spots. Those orange splotches are always mines.
Yep.
So if you just beeline towards those, it's always going to be a mine level. If you see anything that looks like a ruin on the map, it's probably a ruin, and there's probably a dungeon there of some kind. So the map does a pretty good job of kind of drawing your eye to points of interest, even without any sort of waypoint. It was very funny to me, all the folks who were arguing that the fact that it has no NPC markers, like you can put down markers on the map of your own making, but this game when it came out had no indicators of where NPCs were, even if they were like standing next to a bonfire. Like you could see them, they were there, but it wouldn't say who they were, right? So like sometimes it might be a merchant, sometimes it might be a tailor who's following you around and can fix your clothes, but you would have to know, okay, this marker I put on the map, this is a tailor, even though you have like I think 5 or 6 icons to pick from. Like, it's not a wide variety of icons that you can use. But then a patch came out midway, like a few days ago from our recording, that added in markers on the map to let you know which NPCs were near waypoints.
Yep.
And so everyone who was arguing, actually, it's a brilliant decision by the Souls design team that they didn't add this, because Souls doesn't hold your hand like these other baby games. Actually, those people were all, let me not be maximally rude. They were all wrong. It turns out that the Souls team just couldn't get it out in time for release, so it was one patch in. So basically all of you need to respect the authorial intent of the developers to not add this utility feature. No, it turns out they were working on it. They just couldn't get it out the week of release.
Because NPCs do tend to move, so they have
sure
to
do
account for that sort of thing. I don't know about you guys. I was playing this on my TV, which is probably like 10 feet away from my couch. I could not see any of the little markers. I had to like actually get up and look at them if I wanted to actually know what those little dots did. So that was, and the text was very small, just talking about accessibility stuff. So I had a little bit of a hard time actually using the map for anything like on my own terms. But once I like explored around and I found like, you know, the actual cave markers and such, I was like, oh, I'll just use my horse to get around and go off of that rather than like try to read the map at all. Yeah, so a little bit of a harder time, just because there's no like increased text size or any of that.
Yeah, I think that if they had added a quest log, and I don't mean a quest log like here's a bunch of quests that you can do that, you know, is there before you encounter characters. If after you talk to a character and they whispered about how you need to go to this place, it just said like the last thing, like had in your menu a list of NPCs you've talked to and the last, you know, 2 or 3 pieces of dialogue they said to you, that'd be enough. Because once you talk to these characters, you know, I can't remember what the hell Ronnie the Witch whispered to me 40 hours ago.
You know what else really annoyed me? And I don't know if this is like a Dark Souls thing too. Is that like you have to talk to each NPC multiple times to get to whatever the end is. I don't mind, like I enjoy dialogue, especially when the story's this obtuse. But just give it to me all in one shot. Don't make me ask like 3 times and then ask a 4th time to see if there's more. Turns out there's not. It's just a pain in the ass.
I love when they ask you ominous questions that you can say yes or no to without full context of what you're agreeing to.
Oh, God. When they're like, yes, would you like to serve me as my vassal? Are you guy? Like, you're terrible.
I see you met Kenneth.
I have met Kenneth.
Yeah, and, like, the fact that this game, I mean, it's so long. Like, it's so hard to remember. A lot of times they'll be like, yes, you must meet me in the great run of Malaketh. And you'll be like, where? When? I haven't been to the great run of Malaketh yet. How would I know that? And then it's just like the next time you go back to that location, they're fucking gone. And the answer is you go to a wiki because there's an entire sub-industry of people who do this work for you. The Souls games remind me very much. Do either of you remember, speaking of George R.R. Martin, do you remember the not Lord of the Rings, the Game of Thrones economy that would happen on every single game or nerd site?
How do you mean the economy?
I mean the economy because for like the time when Game of Thrones was at its hottest, any site that was in any way nerd affiliated would have a pre-cap and recap of Game of Thrones. They would have some person who would tell you what they think's going to happen in the next episode of Game of Thrones and then what happened in Game of Thrones because they've read the books. And so many sites were propped up by the Thrones economy. And the Souls economy is similar. Every site, if you just Google a question that you would have in these games, because these games don't explain shit, you can find 4 or 5 different websites that will try to SEO a click by telling you the basic mechanics that this game can't be fucked to tell you. And like this game does a better job than most of these games of explaining, like at least the stats do what they say they do. Pete, sometimes the stats didn't do what they said they did.
Why?
Because they just didn't tell you some other thing they did.
So it wasn't oversight. It was deliberately not telling you something.
Wait. Is there an example you can point to?
In Dark Souls 2, I think it was endurance. There was some stat that governed your iframes in your roll to a certain extent. Like you got more iframes if you put enough stats into this thing.
I didn't know that.
No, yeah. Rolling might be the most important thing in any of these games.
Yes.
Never stop rolling.
like the translations in some of these are bad, and then also sometimes they do stuff that's unanticipated too. This game, they at least kind of tell you what the stats do, and they seem to do what they say they do, which, way to go. 10 years in, the stats do what they say they do. But where I was coming to this because, like, the Souls economy allows you to play these games as though it was kind of a normal game. If you are playing this blind and don't have access to a wiki, I don't know how you do half the shit, other than you spend 200 hours just running around in circles, because there are plenty of quests that, like, a character will start in one place and then go back to a place you'd never go back to of your own volition, and then go forward to another location halfway across a continent. And why would I know that that's where they're going? You wouldn't. You just trial and error it. Or you just get lucky. So, like, thankfully, the wiki community for all of the Souls games are very diligent at this point, because they know they have to do what the game won't. But I don't know. Em, how do you feel as a designer about that design? Just saying, like, the community will handle it.
Well, it feels very much like an old school approach to, like, game design. The reference that everyone always makes is, like, learning about secret Pokemon stuff on the schoolyard. Like that rumor of Mew is under a truck in Pokemon Red and Blue. That's what I always think of. It's like the word of mouth way of communicating these game mechanics to you.
And just like in those times, a lot of those things are lies.
Such as, I'm just going to complain about this thing now. There's hidden walls sometimes in these games. And if you are online, I don't think any of us played online. But if you do play online, you can leave messages to other people. And many of those messages are in front of regular ass walls. And they're like, hidden wall ahead. And so people just will be hitting walls for no reason. And the game kind of encourages that sort of, like, helping other people out, or I guess just fucking with them. Because this has been part of the Dark Souls, like, scheme the whole time. And one of the things that has come up recently is, like, people hit a wall so many times that it finally, like, reached a HP threshold and popped. They're like, oh my god, these walls, any of them could be real hidden walls now, because maybe it's on a random timer or something. And that is not the case. That is just a bug. But the point is...
How would you know, Em? How do you know this isn't the brilliant vision of the Souls from Software?
Oh, please. Listen, there is a certain set of rules that these games have to follow so that they're not, like, just fucking with you the whole time. And they're usually pretty good about keeping to, like, their own schemes. They would not make hidden walls that you have to hit 50 times before it pops. I don't think that's...
Why wouldn't they do that? Why do you think that they wouldn't do that?
Because they are devious, and they can be cruel at times, but I think there is a fairness that has to be followed. Otherwise, people are just going to call bullshit and not play their game. You know? If you think you're getting fucked with unfairly, you're not going to put up with it for very long. You're going to be like, we're playing, oh shit, what was that? I Want to Be the Guy. Do you remember that game?
Yep.
That was just like the end result of, like, what if this game was just fucking with you? And we haven't reached that point. Oh, that'd be a good pick. Let me
what
write
if we
that
just
down.
gave up on fun?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it anymore. No more fun.
What if it was just designed to make you angry and frustrated and hate yourself?
Okay, so, question.
Yes.
how many of the mechanics in this game are just that, but we've just like Souls fans have just accepted it as like part of the design? Because let me tell you, Pete.
Yeah.
Every time an item was in the world,
Yes.
just out there, and I saw it shining, and it was alone in the world, I, at about hour 1, was like, oh, this is a trap. Every time, every single time, it's like, oh, here's an item out alone in the world. Is an enemy going to jump out at me from a bush? Is an enemy going to fall from above? Is an enemy going to poof into existence around me? Something is going to happen. Will a bird fly down from above? Like, it's every time. And it's
Bird flying down from above.
But you know that it's going to happen, so you aren't actually surprised by it ever.
I mean, I'm only not surprised by it because it's every time. Like, it's never because, like, oh, I see that. Like, sometimes, admittedly, sometimes it's because I can see the enemy poking out from the bush. Or sometimes I can see 2 enemies that aren't aggressive, and I'm going to be like, oh, I pick up this item and they're going to aggro. You know, like, there are certainly times where you can see the trap because the enemies are in the geometry. Other times, the enemies just, like, smoke bomb in and fuck you up. Or, like, it's a crab and it emerges from the ground. And, like, the trigger is always stand near the item or pick up the item. It's never like you can stand on where the crab is and it won't emerge. It emerges when you go for the item.
The crab is very rude. There's also, like, hands in some parts where there are hands buried in the ground and there are kind of
we're gonna have to
fingers
talk about
sticking
that
up.
area because that area kicks ass.
Yeah, that area is pretty good. But there will be, like, like, just the hint of fingers sticking out of the ground and an item right in the center of it. That one was probably one of my favorites because then you are stuck in a hand and that thing hurts.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, a lot of those designs to me, like, how's about every time you walk through a doorway and there's an enemy to your immediate left or right that you can't see because the camera's in super tight, and then it jumps out and swings at you immediately? Like, there's a lot of designs in this game that are just like, if you've accepted Souls and its design aesthetic and the sorts of ways they fuck with you, fine. But, like, there's no logical reason why someone is hiding to the direct right of your door, not moving.
Pete, as someone who hasn't played these games,
Yes.
did you feel like this was unfair?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was the point, though, honestly. The whole game was just meant to be unfair constantly.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
like everyone who I talked, like, I don't think there's anyone who's still making the argument that Souls games completely telegraph everything and it's really your fault if you're not ready. Like, the actual answer is you should expect that the game is trying to fuck with you at all times. And once you accept that the world is a hostile place that is constantly trying to get one over on you, then yeah, you can't be. It's like you can't be disappointed if you expect nothing.
Right. Like, I have a fairly like, measured approach to when I'm going through any of these levels, where I'm, like, going slowly and checking my corners and everything, because I've been trained by at least 4 other Dark Souls games to sort of anticipate that. It's been drilled into my brain that I will not get anything without, like, nothing is handed to you in these games. If there is a chest, there is probably, something guarding it, or there's going to be a trap. Surprisingly, very few chest traps in this game.
I'm happy that there weren't as many mimics.
I didn't see any mimics.
Oh my god.
In other games, there were mimics. They would just eat you and kill you.
Not the mimics. So this one didn't have mimics, but the ones that annoyed me were, like, the teleportation traps.
Yeah.
You open the chest and it bounces you somewhere. Like, I was very much not ready to be there yet.
Yeah. Yes. Those are surprising. Usually when you get teleported somewhere like that, there will be, like, a site of grace pretty close by, and then you can just teleport out. But for players who are new to this, probably not expecting to end up in Caelid from, like, the lake.
Or,
you know?
the capital.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
capital is very late in the game, and luckily they teleport you to somewhere that is like cordoned off from the rest of the level,
Yes.
because that would have been
A nightmare.
wild. Yep.
So Pete, as someone, we haven't really talked about, like, this game uses the same souls. If you die once, your runes are left where you died. Now you can backtrack and go get your runes. And if you die twice in a row, you lose everything.
Yes.
How did you feel? This is your first run-in with this mechanic. How did that mechanic suit you?
I was willing to accept that one. Honestly, like, it seemed fair, but like a lot of the time I just had to abandon them because I ended up in a lot of places I shouldn't have been yet. And I would just be like, well, I could just die again, but whatever. My solution was really to just not carry anything. I got a rune, I spent the rune, and just minimum, like, keep things, I guess,
You
is the
lived
easiest
a
way to
lean
put it.
existence.
Exactly. Like, I was just like, all right, I'm not going to keep anything in my wallet because I'm going to die constantly, and I just know that that's happening.
Dark Souls. Live paycheck to paycheck.
Pretty
I
much,
mean,
exactly.
That is pretty much how you have to approach this,
Yeah.
in like certain levels. When you're like really low, you can spend your stuff really quickly. Once you get higher up, like your cost to upgrade goes up, so it's a little tougher to spend everything all at once. I played through this game once, like just the whole way through, 160 something hours, and then I did 2 like speed runs where I didn't spend anything, and I lost a lot of runes, big time, mostly due to fall damage.
Yeah. Your
'Cause-
fancy levels don't count for anything if you fall
Yeah.
from too high a height.
Yeah, I lost upwards of 3 million runes in my third playthrough just because I had to go into the sewers to do something to get the ending I wanted. And the sewers have a verticality to them. And if you fall off again, you lose them all. So that was very upsetting. But at that point, I was like, I'm just trying to get the ending so I can get the trophy, so I can get the platinum and finish this game.
Yeah.
So I did not care. At a certain point, if you just don't care, or you just spend all your shit as soon as you get it, that's the way to go.
Yeah. At a certain point you accept a certain amount of nihilism about your levels and your point and your souls. Like, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Just get the levels when you can. Hold on to nothing. And as long as you don't have expectations that the game will ever be nice to you, you'll be fine. It's a very antagonistic and hostile game. And I think some of that, as with many of these games, the tone of the world and the story is this is a foul, befouled, fallen place, that everything is fucked. And so it's kind of it's kind of part of the story that the world is so hostile. But boy, this kind of game, it really brings out kind of the worst in me. Just to play a game that is so relentlessly hostile, asks you to be hyper vigilant at all times, has almost nothing to grab onto from a story perspective for wide swaths. Basically, the way you figure out if you are in the right place is something kills you in one shot. There's not a lot of people to talk to that have anything to say. So, like, it's just a big hostile world where your only verb is kill. And it just made me real anxious and upset most of my time playing it. I don't know if y'all had a similar experience or have other games that make you behave similarly, but it just set me into a bad headspace for 50 hours, basically. I was a worse person playing this game.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. Like, I guess it depends what you play games for, but I don't generally play games to be anxious and like, dear God, what's happening now? It's not like I have no investment in how I perform or anything, so I think that helped. But it is a very unsettling experience.
Mm-hmm. I feel like my approach is being like immersed in this genre, I guess, in a way. I know that I'm gonna lose everything at certain points. Things are going to be dismal and bad. A lot of the storylines that I come across are going to end poorly.
Or not end.
Or not end at all. I don't know if that. I don't know. We talked a bit about on the Discord, where it's like kind of the approach to playing games differs between people. I linked a. Let me see if I can find it. There was a paper that talked about why people play MUDs. It was old. It was from like the early 2000s.
And could you define a MUD for folks who are not familiar with the
Yeah.
term?
Let me see if I can find it. A MUD. Let me see if I remember what a fucking MUD stands for. MUDs. MUD is a multiplayer real-time virtual world, usually text-based or storyboarded. It was like the proto MMOs, basically a text chat where you're role-playing, basically. This is from 1996. Richard Bartle. He kind of talks about styles of play. There's like achievers who want to go out and just do everything, explorers who want to see the world, socializers who want to interact with other people, and killers who just want to fuck everybody's day up. And I feel like the Dark Souls and Souls-likes and Elden Ring and all these games kind of really lean into these four types, particularly if you're playing online, because there's always going to be the people who want to go for the achievements, like I did in this case, and then exploring the entire world, seeing every corner and what's in there. Socializers are going to have the like interactive elements where they're playing online, and then killers who can invade people and mess up like whatever you've got going on. And so I feel like this kind of highlighted a difference in the way that like Gino and I were playing this game, because he was looking for like story and drama, interpersonal drama, and I was just like, I'm riding my horse around finding caves and having a rough time with some bosses, and I'm gonna overcome them eventually.
Yeah, and like I think my problem is like part of it is that this game in so many places is so hostile that it made me want to explore less. Like I would go to a cave, and then it turns out this cave is over leveled, so I would just die, and then I'd lose a bunch of souls, and then I would need to go someplace else. And so, like, anytime you step outside of the boundaries of what your character can handle, if you're not, trying to hit and run, like run in, grab some items, run out, like you could just wander into a place and lose a ton of progress. Like if you can't find a lost grace, if you go to some place and then there's not a good escape route out of it, like I just got punished so many times from going some places that I wasn't supposed to go that I was like, okay, then let me try to find something else to do, I guess. And then I would find NPCs and start their quests and need a wiki to know what to do next. Or like, I'd try to do a jumping puzzle, and boy, adding a jump button was a monkey paw situation, right? Like people are like, oh boy, what if we could just jump like normal people in these games? And then as soon as they did that, they said, what if we did platforming like in other games? But boy, the camera in this game still can't look up or down so good. And judging distances is really hard with the camera angle they've chosen. Em, what was your greatest nemesis in this game?
Gravity. In order to get the ending that I wanted, I needed to go into the sewers, and after you get through this whole like pipe jumping puzzle, you get to a boss, you clear the boss, it's pretty easy, and then you have to go down a like long jump puzzle that's got like coffins sticking out of the wall.
Yes.
And this was my third playthrough, so I was just like speed running. I had only spent like 3 hours in the actual game. I was like, okay, just gotta get down here and then I'll go fight the final boss and we'll be done. And I fell down that fucking jump puzzle probably 30 times before I got down it. And that's where I lost all those runes, because I was just like, maybe I could just get them back. And then I try to jump, and then I would hit the thing at just slightly wrong of an angle, and then I would fall into space. And there's nothing that leveling can do for that. And the camera, I think I had less of an issue than Gino did. I don't know why. Usually it's fine. If you're fighting a big thing, like you're basically looking at a leg for most of the fight. There are a lot of dragons that you come across where you're just like, I'm going to get underneath it and I'm going to hit its leg until it flies away. Then I'll just get back under it and do it again.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that like, so if you lock on to a big enemy in a small space, the camera will lose it. It will like turn you around. It will be profoundly disorienting. It will not work in a lot of cases. Like the lock on sometimes will just also not work in terms of targeting properly as well. It's more that like it's annoying that we are 10 plus years into this series having this exact problem. I played Demon's Souls, the first one of these, and it was the same camera. It had the same problems. And like, I don't know, this is not a problem that I've heard any Souls person defend. I've never heard someone say, actually, the camera's great.
I don't think anyone thinks the camera is good.
No one thinks the camera's good.
Especially when you're fighting something like large, which a lot of these enemies are.
They keep putting large enemies in small spaces. Like the camera has never been able to handle it properly, and they keep doing it. Like it's a known problem. They've also had a lot of like, if you compare how this game handles large enemies that were painstakingly rendered, that have intricate animations, with any other series that goes to the trouble of making those things, the game will pull the camera out to show you the enemy doing the cool move so that you can both see the cool move happen and know how to react to it. This game, the camera's locked. Like, if the cool fire giant is going to do some crazy move while I'm in his taint, I'm not going to see it. There were so many times where what I was reacting to dodge a move was like the undulation of a belly button, because I knew that meant that it was going to do a downswing. Like, I was learning moves based on thigh jiggles, and that's not cinematic, right? Like, they went to the trouble. This game has some of the best boss designs and character designs of any game. Like, it's excellent. And Pete, I would love to know your opinion on this as someone who's come into it, for the first time. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's just like, I've seen it for 10 years with this exact problem, and it's like undercutting some of the coolest stuff they have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, the bosses they're gorgeous, honestly. Like, the armors kick ass. They do cool stuff like rip lines in half and then drench themselves in blood. Like, cool in the context of Elden Ring, not like real life.
Don't do it. Don't do this in real life.
Don't rip lines in half like in your spare time. But the boss design's awesome. Like, turns out their chests were actually mouths or their necks were heads. Like, who knows what the hell's going on? But between the camera and like the dragons flying and the dodge rolls you have to do and all this stuff, it's hard to just like nerd out on these cool fantasy elements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like the target lock targets the midsection of whatever you're fighting. So if there's a pillar between you and that creature's midsection, guess what? You're not going to target lock on it. And the target lock's alternate function, if it doesn't see an enemy that you can target lock, is to spin the camera 180 around. So like there were some enemies where I would be dancing back and forth using a pillar as cover, and I could see that this enemy was wider than the pillar, but the camera's like, no, I think you want to do a sweet 180. Or like the circle button, if you hold it down is how you run. If you press the circle button, it jumps you backwards. So sometimes when I was trying to do platforming puzzles, like I was trying to line up a jump, I would try to hold down the button to, line up a jump, but I pressed it too short, and so my character jumped backwards off a cliff and died.
Yep.
Like,
And
these are the same control problems.
Always been the case.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't know too many series that have these sorts of glaring flaws that just get, it's part of the LOL Souls is so random stuff, and it just gets hauled in as like, oh yeah, the Souls games, they're mean. Like, it's not mean, it's incompetent.
It's unnecessary, extra, like, this is not what should be causing the difficulty. You should not be having control issues. If you want to say like, oh, Souls is so mean, you want it to be fair.
I want it to be the fight. I want it to be the fight. Like,
exactly.
Sometimes it's because the guy just hit me, right? Like,
Yeah.
even some of the fights that are kind of difficult or especially challenging, like, I enjoy when the challenge came from the fact that I couldn't get out of the way of the move, not because I couldn't see the move, because the boss is huge and I only see his toe.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I was thinking about was like, especially during that fire giant fight, which,
Cool fight.
it's a very cool fight.
Awesome fight.
But it's absolutely egregious that you're just standing on the ground swinging at the thing's leg while there's so much going on around you. And I was like, Shadow of the Colossus had you climbing up these things. The God of War series had these epic like fight that felt like, you were actually interacting with the monster, climbing up it with your swords and stuff. I was like, Shadow of the Colossus figured this out like in 2004, I want to say.
On a PS2.
On a PS2. Like, and I feel like in this one they were kind of leaning more towards it because they had like the walking mausoleums, which some of them you have to climb up onto in order to actually get to sit down. And so it felt like they were like, what if we had more interactive bosses? But then they never actually made the bosses interactable in that way. It felt, like Kingdom Hearts also did that. They had like press triangle to do a cool interactive move. Just something that felt more like, you're actually dealing with the thing in front of you as opposed to I just need to hit it in the leg 50 times and then it will die. It feels like a missed opportunity, really. And I'm saying that as someone who likes the series. Like, it's got to do something more than just like, it's not enough,
Just the noise of just like exasperation you just made. Just like, oh god.
Oh, come on.
And like it would take dynamic cameras, right?
Yeah.
Like the trick that they would need to do is they would have to intelligently discern what you're trying to look at, what you're fighting, and pull or constrain or pull back the camera as needed. But that's not how these games operate. Like they've worked with this same fixed camera for darn near 10, 15 years now. And like, it's just a shame, right? It's not a game breaker. It's not the end of the world. It's not the most egregious thing I've ever seen in a game. It's just disappointing. Like, this is a game that sold 12 million copies. Like, it's a shame that these problems keep cropping up over and over and over again, and they just don't fix it. Because it's not unfixable, right? It's not something that we've never seen before in a game that it's had a camera that can actually handle a large enemy. It's solved problems that they just haven't solved in their games.
Even if it was like just 10 to 15% more out, it would solve so many problems with like jump puzzles and stuff like that. It's not like a huge change.
No.
It's just a little bit more flexibility in that department would work wonders for the scheme, but no one wants to like hear it. So
no one wants to hear that. And like I knew I was going to like not necessarily love this experience, but the things that I hold as like the most egregious are the parts where it's just polished stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like I know that the Souls combat is not really for me. It is not something I personally love, but that's not the thing that bothered me the most. It's the stuff where I am, 10 years in and these sorts of same design constraints just keep coming up. So like another thing that came up in this world, like we've talked about, it's a really hostile world. It's got a lot of enemies that are going to come out of nowhere, a lot of poison swamps, which boy, oh boy, do they love poison swamps. But this world, like the only verb you have to interact with it is violence for the most part. You could talk to some NPCs. There's not much else. And something I was thinking playing this game is like every place you go through is a ruined or defiled village, town, castle, swamp. Like anywhere where civilization seems to have been, now everything is hostile and mean. What do you think? Like, do you ever miss just like a town, a functional town?
Well, there
are people that lead lives.
Part of the point, right? Is this game sort of leans into their narrative of what would you call it? Like descent or degradation. Like there's basically two ways to conceive of human history narratively, right? One is the descent from a golden age. The Greeks are real big on this. If you read like the Iliad or the Odyssey, like everybody back in the day was just kicking ass, hanging out with Zeus. Like they were the best and we're terrible now. Or it's narratives of progress. Like, oh God, back then they were savages and now we're incredible. Like a lot of sort of like modern, like national exceptionalism is a lot like that. And Elden Ring is just going so far into the descent narrative. Like there was literally a God ring and we broke it up and like now shit's calamitous. But like it could have done it in like the Fallout 3 sort of way where like, yeah, stuff's calamitous, but like, look, we've tried our best and we created this town around this atom bomb. It's not great, but it's what we got. But they're just like, nope, everything's terrible all the time forever.
But what it's not just that it's terrible all the time. Like there are locations where there are NPCs, like the Round Table Hold, which is kind of the space out of time and space where you can speak to some of the other Tarnished, and they don't talk to each other. Like everyone's just in their little room waiting for you to interact with them for the most part. Like there are, I think, 2 item keepers who kind of talk. Yeah, like they imply that they talk to each other.
The Smithy and the Spirit Lady kind of have a thing.
They talk to you about each other.
Yeah.
But they don't talk to each other. Like the Souls games don't envision a world where people lived or functioned.
I don't know. There's those windmill towns where everyone's dancing. They seem to be having a good time.
Yeah, those people are super nice.
Yeah, just
those old ladies laugh into themselves dancing.
Just don't get too close to them, and
they were fun.
Hook you up. I don't know. It feels very much like outside of their purview in the Soulsborne series to have like, what if people were just chilling? What if it wasn't bad here? Because invariably, even if there was like a spot where things are like sedate, it seems like something comes along and ruins that. And most of the time it's you.
True.
like in this game, a lot of what ends up happening in the round table hold to like upset the balance is like you kind of interact with some of these NPCs, and then all of a sudden Fia is killing D, and there's a whole subquest with that. Or the Dung Eater is there, and he just wants you to fucking kill the world. So by your intervention, it kind of spirals out of control.
Yeah, I don't necessarily need to see these worlds where there's a place that's chill. I wouldn't mind if I just saw like people cowering together. You know, like I don't need everything to be hopeful. I don't need to have just like a chill experience. What if like, you know, the characters who follow you around and hang out with you around the bonfires talk to each other?
Like, you just want a little community of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just would love to see what that would look like, right? Because these worlds are so stark, they're so bleak. The characters speak in veiled gestures more than they do full
worst.
sentences. Like it's implications more than story. So like I would like to know what a Souls game with actual community feels like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It can be bleak too. I don't need it to be tonally upbeat. I just would like to see a human that acts like a human.
There's also a sense too in these games that like information is valuable, like it's almost a currency, which like makes sense in the world, but like in a game, I need to know what's happening and what I should be doing. But like you said, you know, everything's just sort of like implications and hints and like, maybe this is going on. Who knows? Whereas like you just need some directives at some point.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I just would have liked to have seen something like that. So speaking of kind of the world being hostile, one thing that can happen is that the world, like enemies, other players can be quite hostile in this game. Now, the three of us, we've already said we did not play the game online because multiplayer, I don't like getting invaded, and every other Souls game I've played where I turned online on was a bummer.
It's also, even if you don't turn multiplayer on, you get little messages from other people. Very rarely helpful. Usually they're just being dicks.
Dry finger butt hole. Secret wall ahead. Liar ahead.
I better hit that 50 times just to be sure.
Dog.
Maybe
dog?
Dog.
So we are joined now by Off the Deep End's co-host, Braden Arbitrary Water Redacted, who has... You are our correspondent in the field.
Hello. I'm the Elden Ring online correspondent. I'm here to tell you it's like fucking Dark Souls, except it's way easier to match with your friends, and you kind of have to opt into PvP.
Oh.
How do you have to opt into PvP?
Because people cannot invade your game unless you have already summoned someone to help you.
Huh.
Unless you summon them yourself with a red sign. And you can also those little statues, usually near the sites of grace, the summoning pools. You don't have to put your sign down anywhere and just hope someone gets it. You can just send it to a summoning pool, and then any summoning pool that you have activated, your sign will appear at. And so it makes it way more likely that someone will summon you. And anecdotally, people have definitely gotten me to help them in, let's say, less than 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So
okay, well that's much better, because in previous games you would just get invaded, constantly.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, never be human if you don't want Potato Marshall to come in with his scraping spear and destroy all your gear.
Is that who did it to you?
No, that's the guy who did it to Brad Shoemaker when he played Demon Souls.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so there was, hey Pete, there was
Yes.
a weapon that would deal like degradation to your armor, so you would need to like repair your armor.
It would break all your weapons and armor. The scraping spear, just a really cool weapon in Demon Souls.
It sounds
Zero
horrible.
PvE
Yeah.
use.
Just the worst. Just like, again, they took a thing that was already sort of mean-spirited, and they're like, how can we make
That was
it
the
worse
first one.
somehow?
Yeah. They said, hey, we made Kingsfield. How can we continue this fucked up legacy into a new generation? And little did they know that they were setting the foundation for apparently the next decade of video games. I don't know what you guys have talked about in this podcast. I assume it's all been glowing and positive.
Yep.
We're now a Dark
just-
Souls exclusive podcast.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll get
I-
way more listeners.
I just want to say what you want about this game compared to old Dark Souls titles. The fact they got rid of like weapon and armor durability, holy shit.
Remember in Dark Souls 2 how the PC version had a bug originally, or not a bug, a feature where
There are no
weapon
bugs, there are only
degradation
features.
was tied to active frames. So
Oh.
if you were playing the PC version at 60 frames a second,
Oh,
that meant
God.
that weapon durability would break twice as fast. So if you were using like a
Amazing.
whip or something, it would break immediately.
Great, awesome,
They fixed that in Scholar of the First Sin, in case you're wondering.
good.
Fixed, but look, From Software has never made an unintentional decision. That is intentional. They intended you to break twice as fast because the PC is bad somehow. Morally. You're
Yep.
morally wrong for using it.
Mhm.
I mean,
You must pay for those 60 frames with your life.
the only 60 frames you need is the 6, D frames when you go into Blight Town.
Ugh.
Got him.
Got him in one.
So it is good to know. And Pete, just in case you're wondering, there are people who all they do is PvE, is try to invade people and
Yeah.
fuck up their times.
Yeah.
So they just
And then there's also like the weird duelists.
Yep.
You know, the people who will like very much have organized fight clubs
Ugh.
on like a subreddit or a Discord. And just be like, hey everyone, come to fucking the middle of nowhere in Liurna, and I'm gonna put down my red summon sign and we can tussle. And
It
if you
seems like
use your
there's-
flask, everyone has the right to gank you.
No flasks.
There's an item that I believe normally it is 2 cooperators and 1 invader.
Yeah, you can.
But I
bump it.
believe if you use an item, I think it's called like the taunting tongue or something,
Yep.
it increases the limit of people who can be in your game. So I believe it goes up at that point. It goes up to like 4 cooperators and 3 invaders. If you want some real absolute madness.
And I mean, there's like a mimic item that can turn you into an inanimate object.
Yes.
Yep.
In
That- yeah.
the general vicinity, so you
Don't
can
even need a
cloak yourself.
spell for it anymore.
Yeah. That item is very useful if you are farming runes in certain areas, by the way. I found a dungeon where things are fighting each other. I just put that on and hung out. Got like 200,000 runes off of that. Pro
Yeah,
tip.
so, Braden, thank you for popping in and giving us the
You're welcome,
rundown
Gino.
of
I'm here
how the
for-
multiplayer works.
I'm here for news from the information superhighway. Listen, you gotta type in the server address on your dial-up modem,
Uh-huh.
and then you too can play Quake Deathmatch with John Romero.
That's correct. And Braden, but before we bid you adieu, do you have anything you would like to contribute to the Elden Ring discussion? Anything on your chest that you would like to get
I
off?
like
You
this
have
game,
a soapbox.
but also it's very long, and I've 60 hours in, and
You are like little baby.
I want to
You barely.
I want to play the Chaos game. but I'm stuck here, and I just found a place on this plateau that's like the village from Midsommar, and someone made a Don Quixote reference in one of the messages, and I was like, could this be a giant? And I'm like, yes, I understood that joke.
Mm-hmm. We were just talking about those guys.
Yeah,
we were just talking about those cool dancing ladies.
Yeah, those cool dancing ladies.
And nothing weird is going on there.
No.
Nope. Totally normal.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for invading.
Yeah.
Yes.
Furled finger, arbitrary water has left your world.
Bye-bye. So, yeah, that's how the multiplayer works. I'm glad that they have made it less punishing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. It used to be the case that like you'd be doing a story critical like pathway run to a boss, and then someone would invade you and fuck up your day and just cost you a bunch of souls for no reason. So I'm glad that doesn't happen quite as much anymore. And I guess speaking of kind of the corpse runs, this might be the most forgiving Souls game in terms of checkpoints.
Oh yeah,
by a wide margin.
There were times where I would be able to like go out of a site of grace and I would see the next site of grace like down the hall.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I guess I'll get this one too. And then I went out and up an elevator and I was like, oh, there's another one. Okay.
Sweet.
Very odd spacing for some of those. And then you get to the capital and you're like, where the fuck is the second one? And you die 50 times looking for the next checkpoint because you don't know where to go. So
because it's a big open area.
Yep. So that was rough.
So we've talked about a lot of the kind of gameplay features. Now why don't we turn a little bit to the story? Em or Pete, do either of you want to try your best at explaining what the hell is going on in the world of Elden Ring?
Pete, do you want to take a crack at it?
Sure, why not? So here's what I've gleaned from not reading the item descriptions for everything in the game, but nevertheless, here's what I got. So there was, at one point in this world, an Elden Ring. It was this large magical ring, and sort of, not necessarily peace, but better things reigned over the land. The Erd tree, this magical golden tree, looked out over everything, and the Elden Lord, the big bad king, sort of, protected the ring or did something or other, and things were okay. Things are doing good. People were blessed by the tree. And then somebody came along whose name started with M and destroyed the Elden Ring. And this
was me.
This unleashed runes or fragments of the Elden Ring across the land, and this led all these sort of gods and demigods to rise up and fight for supremacy, and the land fractured and fell into chaos. And you, as the Tarnished, were banished from the land earlier, but now, amidst this chaos, the Erd tree calls you back to try to reform, collect the runes, whatever, and become Elden Lord. I think that's close.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So each of the demigods has a fragment of the ring for the most part, and your goal is to try to kill as many of them as possible to get their fragments of the Elden Ring back so you can go to the Erd tree and reform the ring. Like, the game will steer you. You have to kill like 2 or 3 demigods, I think, just to complete the game. But many of them are optional, and their stories also are optional. Mm-hmm. In terms of like picking up what's going on with these demigods, their relationships, like, Em, did you figure out kind of like who was related to who and why?
Yeah. All of the main demigods are related to each other, at least distantly. Like Godric, Renala, Radon, and Rickard. They're all like those are the main 4 that you can access before you go into the capital. They are the sons and daughters of Godfrey, who went to some great lengths to get with the goddess Marika, and you will meet him along the way, pretty late in the game. And then, what? I don't know. There's also like some other folks who also have the great runes, like Mog. I don't know if you found him.
He's another demigod, yeah.
He's another one.
There's Death Wolf.
What?
Who?
He's
He's
the
not a
wolf of death.
demigod. He's the dude who eats the death root.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What the hell's his name? Something
Death
the black,
Wolf.
something the Black Blade.
Yeah.
Malekith.
Malekith the Black Blade.
Yeah. I don't know if he counts as one of the demigods, but anyway, they were all fighting over the pieces of the Elden Ring when it got broken because they wanted to rule over the land, but you are special or somehow you kill all of them and then get the Elden Ring. That's the story.
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, there is some, so Ronnie the Witch is really important, it would appear. She has I would say the first quest line in one of these games that is semi-intelligible with multiple characters who seem to talk to each other, and it seems to have an impact on the world when you do it or not.
Yeah. Pete, did you do
And
that?
is that fair?
Yeah.
Which one's Ronnie the Witch?
She is the blue lady with four hands.
God.
She's the one who
Floppy hat.
gives you the
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I know her.
She is a whole thing.
Yeah.
That's how you get the Mimic Tier.
Yes.
Or at least that's how I got the Mimic Tier, was I went down her quest line. I don't know if you did too, Pete, or if you just stumbled upon it.
No, I did. She was annoying too.
You didn't like her?
I mean, she was fine. She has her moments, especially towards the end.
Does she? Did you finish her quest line?
Did you put a ring on it?
No.
Okay, so
Okay.
her quest line is interesting. So you find her. So you could start it a number of different ways. You can find Blide, her wolf friend, first, who he's hanging out in kind of the starting area, though he's a bit hard to find. I stumbled across her plotline when I went to the Lando Lakes, Lemuria, the Land of Lakes, the second zone, kinda, directly north of where you start. I just kind of kept going north. Liurnia. I just kept going north, and I found a ruin that seemed to gate me to the northern part of the lands, and I was like, why can't I go further north? This is a flimsy wall. Why would I not be able to go around it? And then I could see around the fence that there was a large giant blacksmith making something. I'm like, okay, there has to be a hidden door or something. Come on. Found the hidden door, and then he told me, whatever you do, don't go to this castle up north, because there's a trap there, and if you go there, it's going to kill you. It's a bad place. Don't go there. And if you go there, it is indeed a bad place, full of hand creatures and ghosts, and there's laser beams that fire from the sky when you get near this castle. But if you beat all of that, and then an ice dragon, you eventually find an area called the Three Sisters, where there are 3 rises, which seem to be kind of witchcraft, towers for witches. And in one of them is Ronnie the Witch, who you find her earlier in the game. She gives you the bell that lets you summon spirits, and you get told, hey, do you want to join my crew? I want to topple the Golden Order, which is the 2 fingers. Those gross fucking fingers.
We haven't even talked about the 2 fingers yet.
No, we haven't. She says she wants to topple this divine order that created the Elden Ring. And she's like, you down for that? And you can be like, yes. And if you are, then you join her crew, which is Blide the Wolfman, E.G. the Giant, and Selvis the Creep. Just the absolute creep. And she sends you on a series of quests, all of which are generally pretty rad. right? Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, they're pretty good. You gotta go into a underground city. That's pretty cool.
You've got to kill Radon, who's the coolest one of the coolest bosses in this game. He's a giant man who's infected with some sort of disease that has wasted away his mind. So now he lives in a giant sand dune, killing and eating anything he can fight. And he's a giant man riding a tiny horse.
Yes. It's very good.
Pete, did you beat Radon? I guess you had to if you got the Mimic tier. Almost certainly.
Yeah.
But the meteor, he dies, meteor. There's the underground section, like all that stuff. And then at the end of it, like you give her a blade and she uses it to kill one of the two fingers with her bare hands. And you can put a ring on it at the end and get wedded.
Is that what
to a
was
demigod.
implied at the end there?
She calls her a consort.
She uses the sword to kill the fingers?
It's called the Finger Slayer Blade.
Oh, yeah.
And she runs one of the two fingers down through the palm, and her puppet body is like on top of in front of it, like all beaten up.
There was a lot to parse in that one scene.
There was.
I didn't interpret that there were fingers in that, but
oh yeah, her puppet body's right in front of a finger with a blade sticking out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that whole plot line, and then she unlocks one of the extra like endings as well. But like there seems to be alignments within the demigods. Like she seems to want to overthrow the Golden Order. There are some of them that just want to be in good standing with the Golden Order. And do you want to try to explain what the hell the two fingers are?
So the two fingers, when you go to the round table hold the first time, there's a door that's locked. And at a certain point, once you beat one of the main bosses, that door opens, and behind it is a gigantic two fingers just sort of chilling in that back room. And there's a lady there who's like, I'll interpret the will of the fingers for you. And she says some cryptic shit, which is basically like the fingers want you to become the Elden Lord.
Yep.
And the fingers, thankfully, do not talk.
They just undulate at you.
They just sort of writhe around a little bit, which is concerning. But
they're so furry.
They're like weird and hairy. It's very strange, but it's about par for the course for a Souls-like.
Yeah, so they're kind of like this weird being that does some sort of prophecy, it guides you kinda. All the people who can talk to fingers are blind ladies with no eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
Whose fingers are they?
That's a good question. I don't think we know.
They're just alien fingers. These are just, I thought they were the gods' fingers or something, but doesn't seem like God had fingers.
So they are a manifestation of the Golden Order, which is whatever the god that made the Erd Tree and created the Elden Ring and kind of set everything into motion. They are like an extension of that god in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And
two decaying fingers.
Yep.
And it's two detached fingers that are interpreted by blind ladies.
So,
did y'all do the quest to help the lady who wanted to become a maiden?
Oh yeah, that's
out or something.
That's fucked up. No, she wants to be like Marika, the one who's helping you.
Right.
And so she's like, please give me some of these grapes. And you're like, I don't have grapes, but I have these things that are labeled as grapes.
They're fucking eyeballs.
They're fucking eyeballs.
Ugh.
And she's like, when I eat these, I get like a hint of where to go in the back of my eyes because she's blind. And at a certain point, you can tell her like, hey, by the way, these are eyeballs, ma'am. And she will get sick because
Wait, so you're feeding her eyes, but she thinks they're grapes?
She's like, I want these things that are called grapes. And then,
It's a euphemism.
But
Yes.
does she know their eyes?
no,
No.
not until
So
you
you're-
tell her.
Because she's
This is a
blind.
woman.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
horrible. This is the
sure.
worst thing in this game. That's full of horrible things.
Yes. Shaburi grapes.
Weird.
Hayeta is her name. Yeah, that's a pretty weird quest line. I lost track of her, thank fucking God, because I didn't want to see the end of that.
That's
but
fair.
there is. Did you find? You found the 2 fingers. Did you find the 3 fingers?
I didn't, but I found a guy who said, what if instead of restoring order, you restored chaos?
What if? Fuck it. The
Pete,
last.
did you find the 3 fingers?
I didn't. I only thought there were 2.
Yeah.
I could have had 50% more fingers.
The last ending that I needed in order to platinum the game was you have to become the Lord of Frenzied Flame, which requires going into the sewers, beating a boss that's down there, and then you open a secret wall behind it where there's like a lot of bodies just strewn about, and they're like other people playing string music, and you have to go down a very long jump puzzle to the bottom, and then at the bottom you have to strip yourself naked, remove
Got you
all
beat
your
there.
remove all your armor, and then there's a door that you open, and then inside is 3 fingers which kind of like approach you and kind of wrap you up like a snake.
Nope. No thanks.
And then like they burn, and then after they burn you have like burn marks on your body, and that marks you as the Lord of Frenzied Flame. And then when you go to the ending and you beat the final boss, the only option you have is to become the Lord of Frenzied Flame, which basically means you burn down the entire world instead of restoring the Elden Ring.
Nice.
Yeah, it's quite something. Definitely worth checking out if you want to see what the fucked up ending is.
Yeah, so I think like we don't need to go through all the different bosses and all the different like fights and stuff, and I think given that this world is supposed to be really fallen and broken and dare I say tarnished, there are multiple endings here, 3 of which involve you becoming the Elden Lord. One of them is the default ending. You become the Elden Lord. Things seem kind of crappy. I guess there might be 4 different Elden Lord endings.
Yeah.
There's one that you unlock with Fia, the companion, where it's the same ending, but the world's foggy because she wants to like create death in death or something, some terrible like unending death. The Dung Eater, you can give you a rune which lets you become the Elden Lord, but the world is cursed and terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just ruin everything.
If you want to make it even worse, you can side with him, and he will fuck stuff up by putting a curse on everybody, where they're just like gross and
Bad.
Bad.
There's an ending where you restore Golden Order, which seems like you like it's the same but maybe sunnier for the most part.
Yeah, order's restored.
Yeah.
Which, I guess better than no order, but maybe a little fascist. And then there's the Frenzied Flame ending where you burn literally everything down. It's the nihilism ending. And then there's the Age of Stars ending, which you unlock if you do Ronnie's side quest, where she basically destroys the Golden Order, but also like gets all people, separates them from their physical bodies, and then you fly up into the stars for 1,000 years.
Yeah, she basically just like starts her own thing.
Yeah. She's like, I'm going to make it night and we're gonna go on a journey for 1,000 years. Come on, consort. You're like, hell
Come on,
yeah.
husband.
Yep.
So what do we think is actually the ending that we're supposed to feel sympathy towards, or are any of them good? Are they all just vibes?
Just fine.
I mean, I am the one who usually is like, I think it's all just vibes, but I think they're all just vibes. I think any ending is negative depending on how you read it. Ronnie seems like if you take her at face value, like she wants to help people, maybe she's on the level, and that seems like it would be a good ending. Any ending where you become Elden Lord, you're probably just, a warmonger that took power.
Continuing the cycle of violence.
Yeah, exactly.
Break the wheel.
Yeah, burning everything down seems like the way to go.
What's the Dung Eater's goal here?
He's just a dick.
He's okay, the Dung Eater.
He just wants to curse everyone, but I don't get why.
Yeah, the Dung Eater is like a corpse which is just ridden with disease, and all he cares about is like fucking up everyone else's day. He wants to make sure everyone else gets that same disease, and just suffers forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a simple man with simple needs, eating shit and fucking up everyone's day.
I thought there was more to it, but I see I
No.
was thinking too much.
He's a terrible man with terrible goals.
Yeah, he says something about like when you start his quest, he's like, if you want to remake the world where everyone is cursed, here it is. I will kill again and defile each corpse with care, just to be sure that's when they are reborn. Oh, just to be sure. Then, when they're reborn, they'll be cursed along with their children and their children's children for all time to come. He's just a mad lad.
Great. That's his whole deal. I love it. Okay.
Yeah, very simple.
I think that's the canonical ending.
Yeah.
This world is foul. I mean, Ronnie at least seems to have friends. The only character in this universe who does. So I kind of sided with her because she's the only character who seems to show any sort of affection for anything. Call me naive. I don't know. It feels like all of the endings are different shades of fucked up, so I went with the one that at least had a character I kind of knew had motivations. And also, if you like look into some of the item descriptions and read the wiki, like it would appear that Ronnie basically killed her physical body and killed, oh boy, was it Godric or Godwin?
Pick one.
It's one
One of those
One
guys.
of them.
Yeah.
One of them. She killed one of their souls, which started the whole issue.
Oh, is she the one who? Because the black, what is it? The black knives.
Black dag knives, yeah.
Yeah, that's what like starts off this whole thing.
Yep.
Like if you rewatch that opening sequence, that like 3-minute cutscene that plays at the beginning of the game, it explains pretty much every character you're going to meet. There's like a group of assassins that you can come across, most of which are locked in jails, and they're the ones who like killed the main god. And then because she was mad about it, Marika was like, I'm gonna break the Elden Ring now, fuck you. But I didn't know Ronnie had anything to do with that.
Yeah, so if you do Ronnie's quest, and you go to the Grand Tower in Lemuria, the Land of Lakes, you find a corpse at the top of that one instead of a Great Rune.
Mm-hmm.
And that corpse has the mark of death on it, so that's Ronnie's body, like her physical body.
Right.
I also, I don't know if I should, because it feels like I shouldn't.
Okay.
But I also really liked Fia.
Mm-hmm.
She just wanted
She
to
gives
hold.
hugs.
Yeah, she just wanted to hold me, and I was like,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, anytime you hold
Do
me.
you know what she does if
Did
she
you follow
like,
that quest?
I didn't follow it to the end. I know she tried to bring some dude back to life and couldn't. I'm assuming bad stuff happens.
Yeah, so she wants to bring back. So Ronnie killed her body and Godwin's soul.
Mhm.
Okay.
So she every time she hugs someone, she takes a little bit of their life force,
What?
and she wants to use that life force to bring Godwin back to life as a
And-
zombie.
And mechanically, this is why whenever you get her hug, and you have that item in your inventory, your health goes down a little bit.
What? I didn't even
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah, no one did. They're like, this is bullshit. Why am I
Yeah, she
being
takes
punished?
5% of your max HP.
Yep.
Is it
Until you
does
use
it
that item.
stack?
No,
I don't think it does.
you can only get one of those items.
Oh, when you
At
use the
once.
item, it comes back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I still like her.
She still seems fine.
She's
I mean,
So-
compared to the Dung Eater, she's great.
Yeah.
No one else gave me a hug the whole game. No one else.
Hmm.
But yeah, also, did you pick up on the America, the duality
Oh
of
yeah.
the main god?
Oh man, this is a whole. There's a lot of the ending stuff tied up in this. This is so hard to find if you weren't looking for it. Pete, do you know what we're getting at?
No.
Okay.
Of course.
Go ahead, explain.
Yeah, so if you follow the Gold Mask quest line, there is one part where he's like pointing at a statue of Marika, the goddess of the land, and in front of it is a message that's like you gotta use a certain spell on it to reveal a truth. Let's see, Gold Mask. And then I, investing no points in my intellect, could not do this, so I respect, and then I came back with some more intellect, and you find out that when you use the spell on that statue, it says something like Marika is Radagon, who is the final boss, which is why when you first see the boss, it's like up on a rune arc, basically, kind of like a Jesus metaphor, and then
Yep.
it like crumbles and falls to the ground, and then it is not a woman anymore; it is a dude who is the
Start
one
mad.
who beats the shit out of you.
Yeah.
So there's some like, I don't know, there's some stuff going on there.
So Radigan and Marika,
Are the same
Have-
person.
they're the same person. They are the male and female elements of the same person.
Yes.
But also, Radigan and Marika are married
Mm-hmm.
and have kids together.
But they're
So
the
it's
same
person.
Yes.
Same person, had kids together. All of their kids are the Elysians, which are Ronnie,
Empyreans.
which are Ronnie. They're all the same fucking names. They're all the same, begin with the same syllables.
Godric, Renala, Radon.
The R ones.
The R
Basically
ones?
all the R ones.
Are the R ones.
Most of the R ones are their kids, if I remember correctly.
I'll be honest. I don't think they thought this through.
You don't find this compelling?
I don't think the developers thought this one through.
Well, as a game developer, how do you feel about this, like, hinting at story? Basically, you're just kind of left to fill in your own, whatever your own beliefs are, and there may or may not be a true story here, but kind of who cares?
I think the implication is you want me to be like, no, I don't like it as a game designer, but
No, I'm sure you like it. Like, it's cool. It's an interesting it's an interesting way to get people to tell their own stories, I guess.
it is compelling in that it makes you want to look in every corner of the world to find answers. And to some people, that means looking at all of the item descriptions. And to other people, that's going to mean exploring into all of the like dungeons and finding, the little bits and pieces of lore that they can find, or hitting every wall 50 times just to be sure. I don't know. I think it is just more of the design aesthetic of their like FromSoft approach to game design, in that there is a story. Like, you can go on the wiki and look at the lore page, and it will tell you like what the general gist is. But ultimately it doesn't matter to like your enjoyment of the game. It is a set dressing at best, and if you want something more compelling, you're gonna have to really dig in,
Or play a different game.
It seems to be the like approach for fan fiction. Like, we're gonna leave a bunch of open-ended shit, just gonna throw it out there, and then if people want to really sink their teeth into it, there's like some stuff to grasp onto, but not a whole ton. Just make up whatever your fan fiction interpretation is, you know?
You know what this reminded me of? Bionicle, when it first came out.
Like the Lego?
Oh, man.
Like the Legos.
They have a backstory?
So when they came out, they kind of didn't.
How far are you getting?
No, all I was going to say is like the only backstory you got was like what was written on the tube, and then
yeah.
there was like an implication that there was more here than there was. But they didn't write that shit yet. Like they have since backfilled in like backstory onto those things, but like it was a Lego that looked like it had some lore to it in a way that normal Legos didn't, and so it sold like hotcakes.
And they're like, wait, people want to watch movies of these things? Shit, we better come up with some backstory.
It is the
Exactly.
implication of something more.
Yes, and just implying that there's more, and that people, the diligent, the truly devoted, can find the true meaning. That hooks people even more than if you told a coherent story a lot of the times.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's the appeal of conspiracy theories. That like you're one of the initiated who has like sees behind the veneer of chaos to the order beneath.
Yeah, so I guess closing thoughts on Elden Ring. Let's bring it to a close. Pete, this was your first one of these. Would you play another one? Are you intrigued?
No.
Did you like your experience here?
No. I would for the podcast, but I would not like purchase one of these on my own. I'll say this. The game deserves the hype. It's good at what it does. I just don't like what it does.
Okay. Em, did this grab you? I mean, it clearly did. You played for 100+ hours, so it clearly worked.
Hated
for
every
you.
minute of it.
Like, I don't know. A lot of the times when I'm playing a game like this, I'll get to like hour 10, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get the gist of it. But this one, I only started to get worn down at like hour 150 or something, where I was like, okay, I kind of want to hurry up towards the end. So compared to like other open world games, I'm much more inclined to pick this back up than I am to like, go back to Breath of the Wild or something.
Genshin Impact.
Yeah, Genshin. Let's play Genshin Impact again. I think we really didn't give that one its fair shake. Yeah, like I really want to play Bloodborne again now, honestly. I'm interested in going back into the other Souls games. I was playing a little bit of Dark Souls 3 recently to like gear up for this one, and I got the itch again, I think. Something about these games, like, I don't know, works for me. Doesn't work for everybody, as we found out, but...
See, apparently Bloodborne is the one that would play the way I play these games anyway.
Yeah.
And that's like the only way you can play it. So people who are like Souls games have every play style. That's what makes them so good. Hate Bloodborne because it's like, no, you idiot, you dodge roll. These games are about dodge rolling, you fool.
No picking up items. You have your set item. You're gonna hit stuff with a giant hammer, and that's the whole game. That's Bloodborne, and it works for it.
Yeah, that's probably the game that if I had to play another one of these, I would play, because it seems like it's just my play, or Sekiro, but Sekiro, do you have to parry? I don't like blocking.
Yes, Sekiro is all about parrying. If Bloodborne is all about dodge rolling.
Okay, then Sekiro sounds like my arch nemesis, because I don't know what the block button is in this game.
All right, adding that to my list of torture games.
I still don't know what the block button is.
Unclear.
It's unclear. Why would I ever use it?
The block button
seems
is
vestigial.
Put your shield out. Oh, you don't have a shield? You don't get the block.
No. So I would say, like, closing thoughts, this game is well made. The bosses are breathtaking at times. The designs in these games are still second to none. I still don't like the overall malicious vibe of the worlds that they build. I don't like the everything is defiled and dead and this place is forsaken, so, become king of the ashes. It feels wasteful of what are otherwise great designs. And these games are not as hard as people say they are. You just need to use all of the mechanics that the game gives you to get ahead, like the spirits, the summoning, all of the different items that they give you. There's no honor in these games, and everyone who says there's one way to play them, and you have to parry, you have to dodge roll, you can't, play with summons. Those people are liars.
Yeah.
Everyone who says that they are beating this game solo, it's Instagram shit. All the way down. It's someone spending 10 hours to get the perfect shot, and they only post the perfect shot. People are reading these wikis. They are, going to forums. No one's figuring this shit out on their own. So just embrace that. Accept that, like, the real game is reading a wiki to figure out where to go. And that's how you figure out what the story is or where anything is. It's not banging your head against a wall over and over and over again. And also, if you don't like these games, it's not a moral failing. Like, every time you talk to there are so many Souls fans who I have told I don't like this game, and then they respond by saying, well, this game's really about grit.
You just don't have the tenacity.
It's really a game about tenacity and about overcoming hardship. And boy, oh boy, if you think overcoming hardship is beating a fucking boss that you can over-level and then beat to death with a fucking rusty anchor,
That's what I go to my video games for, is lessons in grit and hardship.
Yes. So, like, if you enjoy these games, that's fine. Please don't be the Souls fan who's like, these games are perfect and are about grit, and if you don't enjoy them, it's because you're soft.
Have you tried getting good?
Yes. And boy, when I was like wrapping this game, I was towards the end, and I was fighting whatever, the Black Blade, that dude.
Deathwolf.
And Deathwolf man.
Yeah.
And I was losing to his second form a considerable amount. And someone was like, well, have you tried dodging the attacks more? And I was like, I am at hour 50 of this game in like the final boss rush, naked with an anchor. And I got to the end of this game this way. I think I'm okay at it.
Do I look like I don't know what a dodge roll is?
Do I look like I don't know how this game works anymore?
Tried
like
parry.
Have you tried parrying? Have you tried equipping? Have you tried respecking your entire class into a different form and then finding this shield that's at the bottom of a well that'll take you a half hour to get to? Have you tried that? No, I'm not going to spend another 100 hours to get the perfect build that will make this battle like 20% easier. No. Every time someone told me, just spend another 20 hours getting this sword that'll make this super easy. Why don't you learn all the spells?
Just do what I did and spend 160 hours on your first playthrough, and then the next playthrough you'll get done in 5, because you
Smart.
already have all this stuff.
Smart.
That's
Yeah,
the way
so that's
to do
my
it.
final takeaway. Like, if you enjoy these games, fine. That's great for you. Enjoy them. Just don't be the person who's like, you know what you need to beat these games? Character.
Mhm. Clearly.
Okay. That's it. We're done with Elden Ring.
We did it.
We finished it. We did it.
Until
We finished it.
the DLC.
Oh, thank God.
Shut up.
There's more.
Shut your mouth. Okay, which means now it is my turn to pick once again. And I want to play something fun.
Good luck.
Okay.
I want to play something I would enjoy.
Okay.
I don't like where this is going. It's going to be Final Fantasy VIII again, isn't it?
It's not. That'd be great. What a move. What a move that would be. No, I'm just thinking. I actually, was so wrapped up in this, I didn't really think too much about what game I wanted to pick next. So I'm just scrolling through, seeing if there's anything that jumps to mind from my list of unplayed games. Let me scroll my brain. I want a short game. I want something that's not going to take very long because I just spent 50 hours playing Elden Ring. Let's see. Do y'all have any sort of genre you would like to play? I am a man of the people.
Got any card games?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, of course
I like
do.
building decks.
Got any deck builders?
Of course I do. So in that case, why don't I pick a game that co-host, the person who parachuted in, Braden Arbitrary Water, gifted me, because I think y'all might enjoy it. It's called Trials of Fire.
Good start.
It is a roguelike deck builder where it's kind of mixes some D&D with some card game, with some Final Fantasy Tactics.
I love Final Fantasy Tactics. Best game in the series.
Yeah, it's got hexes, it's got some tactics, and it's a deck builder. And you got equipments and such.
Interesting.
All right. So next time we'll be playing Trials of Fire. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, like I said, I always like playing games that I wouldn't ordinarily play and would never go back to. But this is probably one of the better examples of that.
Thank you, M.
Thank you. I'm glad to be doing something else now, because, man, that was a lot of game. I almost forgot how to talk to people, because just playing Elden Ring for 3 weeks.
And thank you, listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.